There's a silent force working behind the scenes of every success story. A hidden magnet that draws opportunity, strength, solutions, and people. It's not luck. It's not genius. It's not even education. It's the power of positivity. The very energy that shapes your world starts with what you hold in your mind. And today, I'm going to show you how the right mindset can take you from broken to unstoppable, from overlooked to undeniable, from merely surviving to powerfully thriving. There's a war going on every single day, but most people never realize where it's being fought. It's not on the streets. It's not in the economy. It's not in your job, your relationships, or your bank account. The real battle is in your mind. That's where victories are won. And that's also where most people lose. The truth is, the world doesn't have to defeat you. You'll do it yourself if you let negative thoughts take root. Doubt, fear, jealousy, anger, regret, shame. These are the silent killers that creep into the mind and slowly erode your spirit. Most people aren't destroyed by what happens to them. They're destroyed by what they tell themselves after it happens. They fail once, and the inner voice whispers, "You're a failure." Someone leaves them, and the mind says, "You're not worthy." They make a mistake, and the thoughts scream, "You'll never get it right." And they believe it. They let those lies take over. And just like that, the battle is lost. But here's the shift: you can take back control. You don't have to be a victim of your thoughts. You don't have to surrender your power. Because positivity is not just a good habit. It's a weapon. And it's one you must learn to wield with precision, discipline, and intensity. It is the sword that cuts through confusion. It is the shield that blocks the arrows of fear. It is the voice that says, "I will not give up. I will not break. I was built for more." And let's be clear, positivity is not about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's about seeing things for what they are and still choosing hope. Still choosing strength. Still choosing to move forward with faith when everything around you says stop. That's power. That's courage. That's leadership over your own life. Think of every great achievement in human history. Every invention, every breakthrough, every empire that was built, it started in the mind. Before there was action, there was belief. Before there was success, there was a vision. And that vision had to be protected from fear, doubt, and criticism. Because the moment a person believes that something is possible, they ignite a fire that reality cannot extinguish. But to protect that fire, you need armor. You need mental toughness. And that comes from positivity, not the fluffy kind that smiles at everything, but the deep, resilient kind that refuses to collapse under pressure. The kind that says, "I know the facts, But I choose to focus on what I can do. I choose to speak life. I choose to move with purpose. That's the mindset that separates the successful from the stuck. You know what's tragic? Most people never learn to fight back. They never question the negative narrative running through their minds. They let it play like a broken record. You're not smart enough. You're too late. You always mess it up. They're better than you. Day after day, those words shape their actions, their decisions, their emotions, until they shrink their life down to the size of their fears. They lower their standards. They sabotage their dreams. They settle. Not because they had to, but because they never stood up and said, "Enough." Let me tell you something. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves your attention. You are not obligated to believe everything your mind throws at you. Some of those thoughts are not truth. They're old fears. They're echoes of past failures. They're projections of pain. And your job is to become the gatekeeper of your own mind, to challenge every negative thought with a stronger belief, to fight back with affirmations, to replace every "I can't" with "I will find a way." That's how you start winning the war in your head. And you don't need to be perfect to do it. You don't need to have it all figured out. All you need is the willingness to fight. The willingness to take control of your thoughts instead of letting your thoughts control you. Because here's what they don't teach you. Your mindset is not fixed. It's a choice you make every single day. And when you choose to think positively, intentionally, repeatedly, you begin to rewire your brain. You build new patterns. You develop new instincts. You become someone who sees opportunity where others see obstacles. You become the kind of person who doesn't break in hard times, but gets sharper, wiser, and more dangerous. This isn't easy. It takes work. It takes practice. It takes awareness. But every time you catch yourself drifting into negativity and choose instead to speak strength, to think possibility, to believe again, you win. Maybe not out there, not immediately, but you win in here. And that inner victory is what eventually transforms everything outside. Because once you win the battle in your mind, you become unstoppable in the world. What you focus on, you feed. And what you feed grows. Most people spend their entire lives wondering why nothing changes, why success slips through their fingers, why peace never lasts, why hope feels so distant. But the truth is, the quality of your life is a direct reflection of the thoughts you consistently give your attention to. If you focus on what's missing, you'll feel lack. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll feel overwhelmed. But if you focus on what's possible, what's good, what's within your control, you unlock a power that begins to reshape everything around you. Let's be real. Life is loud. It's full of distractions, disappointments, and delays. Your attention is constantly being pulled in 100 different directions. Social media tells you you're not enough. The news tells you the world is falling apart. Your environment, your past, your mistakes, they all fight for space in your mind. And if you're not intentional, if you don't become the master of your focus, you'll be led by fear, by comparison, by regret. That's why you have to wake up every day and choose your focus like your future depends on it. Because it does. You can't just hope for a better life while your mind is filled with worst-case scenarios. You can't expect abundance while replaying the thoughts of scarcity. Focus is the steering wheel of your life. If you let it drift, you'll crash into confusion. But if you grab it with both hands and aim it toward purpose, you will reach places you once thought were impossible. Here's something most people never understand. Your mind is always working. It's always trying to prove your thoughts right. So if you keep thinking, I never get a break, your brain will look for moments to validate that belief. If you keep repeating, I'm not good enough, you'll start seeing all the places you fall short. But if you shift that thought, even just slightly, to I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm getting better every day, your brain begins to look for evidence of that growth. Suddenly, progress is visible, possibility becomes real, and your energy changes. And when your energy changes, everything else starts to shift with it. You begin to speak differently. You move differently. You stop reacting to negativity with fear and start responding with faith. You stop complaining about problems and start searching for solutions. Why? Because you've chosen to lock your focus on what can be built instead of what's broken. That's not wishful thinking. That's mental training. And it's what separates those who just talk about success from those who actually create it. There are people with less talent, less experience, and fewer opportunities who are thriving. Not because life was easier for them, but because they chose to focus on what they could control. They didn't dwell on what went wrong. They didn't obsess over how unfair things were. They decided, if all I can control is my attitude, then that's where I'll focus. And that decision turned into action. That action turned into consistency. And that consistency built momentum. And eventually, momentum created results. That's the compounding power of focus. And let's talk about how this affects your relationships, too. When you focus on what someone lacks, you begin to resent them. But if you choose to focus on their effort, their potential, their presence, your appreciation grows. This is true with yourself as well. If all you ever focus on is your weaknesses, your scars, your past mistakes, you'll never see your strength. But when you focus on your growth, your resilience, The fact that you've survived what tried to break you, you begin to reclaim your power. So many people are waiting for life to get better so they can feel better. But that's not how it works. You feel better first by changing what you focus on. And then your life begins to reflect that internal change. Because you attract what you are, not what you want. You attract people, opportunities, and results that align with your dominant thoughts. So if your thoughts are filled with doubt, guess what you'll see? More reasons to doubt. But if your thoughts are filled with confidence, hope, and clarity, your vision sharpens. You start seeing paths that were hidden before. Why? Because now your mind is looking for the light instead of the darkness. Think of it like this. Focus is a flashlight in a dark room. If you shine it on the clutter, that's all you'll see. But if you turn it toward the doorway, you'll find the exit. The room didn't change. Your focus did. That's the key. The situation may stay the same for a while. The challenges may still be there. But when you change what you focus on, your mindset changes. Your energy shifts. Your language transforms. And that internal transformation sets off a chain reaction that touches every part of your life. So ask yourself, what am I focusing on? What thoughts am I feeding? What emotions am I rehearsing every day? Because that's the direction my life is heading. And if I want to change my results, I have to change my focus first. There's a powerful truth that separates those who rise from those who fall when life becomes painful. It's not the pressure that breaks a person, it's how they process it. It's not the weight of failure that defeats them, but the story they attach to that failure. The most successful, fulfilled, and powerful people are not immune to hardship. They simply carry a different mindset through the storm. They've trained their mind to be resilient. And that resilience was built not on comfort, but on positive thinking that refused to collapse in the face of adversity. Resilience isn't born out of ease. It's not the product of a perfect life. It's forged in fire. It's shaped in moments when everything goes wrong, when the plan falls apart, when the door slams shut, when the people you counted on walk away, and still, somehow, you decide to keep going. But what fuels that decision? What gives someone the strength to get back up when the world is shouting, "Stay down"? The answer is this: the belief that something better is still possible. That belief is the essence of positivity. Now let's be clear, positive thinking is not about denial. It's not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about refusing to let that pain define your future. It's about recognizing that you may not control the storm, but you do control the sail. It's seeing the darkness and still choosing to light a candle. Because here's what most people don't understand: positivity is not about how you feel. It's about what you decide. When life knocks you down, and it will, you don't rise with feelings. You rise with perspective. And that perspective comes from a disciplined, intentional mind that has been trained to see through the chaos. A mind that doesn't panic, doesn't spiral, but pauses and says, "What can I learn here? How can I grow from this? How can I use this to become stronger, sharper, wiser?" That's the kind of thinking that creates unshakable resilience. The average person breaks when faced with loss, rejection, failure. But those who master their mind, those who build it like a fortress, don't break. They bend. They adjust. They fall, but they don't stay down. Why? Because positivity keeps them anchored to the vision, not the problem. It keeps their focus on where they're going, not where they've been hurt. You have to understand, when your mind is positive, it becomes your most powerful ally. It protects your peace. It calms your fears. It reminds you of who you are when everything around you is trying to make you forget. And in that moment, when everything feels like it's falling apart, your mind becomes your sanctuary. That's what resilience really is. It's not just strength, it's stability. It's clarity under pressure. It's the ability to keep showing up with purpose when life keeps handing you pain. But you don't get there overnight. This kind of mindset takes training. It takes intention. You have to challenge your own thoughts. You have to listen to your inner dialogue and ask, is this belief helping me or hurting me? And if it's hurting you, you replace it. Not once, every time, over and over, because thoughts are like seeds. If you keep watering fear, it grows. If you feed doubt, it spreads. But if you feed faith, if you nurture hope, if you speak life, you grow stronger from the inside out. Every time you go through a storm and choose to think with faith instead of fear, your resilience expands. Your mind becomes more agile, your emotions become more grounded, and your heart becomes more courageous. This is how champions are built. Not by avoiding adversity, but by learning to breathe through it. By learning to speak power to themselves when the world offers silence. By turning pain into purpose, simply by refusing to let it break their identity. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who overcame addiction, loss, poverty, heartbreak. Did they have a perfect path? No. What they had was a decision not to let the darkness define them. They rewrote their story through positive thinking. And now their scars don't tell a tale of suffering. They tell a tale of strength. That's what's possible for every person who chooses positivity as their weapon and resilience as their strategy. Because here's the truth, you don't build resilience by waiting for life to be easier. You build it by refusing to fold when it's hard. You build it when you get up after life knocks you flat. You build it when you tell yourself, I don't know how, but I will find a way. That thought, that one act of positive thinking, can be the start of a new chapter. That's the moment where weakness ends and power begins. If there is one mindset that has the power to completely shift the direction of your life, it is gratitude. But not the surface level kind that only appears when everything is going right. No, real gratitude is deeper. It's raw. It shows up when everything around you says you shouldn't be thankful. It's a mindset that looks at imperfection, lack, pain, and still chooses to see the value in what remains. That kind of gratitude is not a reaction. It is a discipline, and it has the power to multiply your life from the inside out. Most people believe they'll feel grateful after life improves, after they get the promotion, after the relationship works, after the pain goes away. But that's not how transformation works. Gratitude isn't the result of abundance. It's the cause. Gratitude is what turns what you have into more. It's what changes a small beginning into a foundation for greatness. It shifts your energy. It changes your posture. It opens your mind. It awakens your creativity. Gratitude activates everything that's already in you, but buried beneath frustration, anxiety, or disappointment. Look at your life. Even now, in this very moment, there are things you once prayed for that you have right in front of you. The job you have now, you once wished for stability. The people around you, you once longed to feel seen. The talents you carry, they were once overlooked or undeveloped. But because you've adapted to your reality, you've stopped appreciating it. You've gotten comfortable with the very things that once brought you joy. And now your focus is only on what's missing. That's how the mind works when it isn't trained. It always wants more, and it forgets the miracle of what already is. But gratitude pulls you back. It grounds you. It reminds you that even in the middle of struggle, you are not empty. You are not without value. You are not forgotten. There is something in your hands right now that, if nurtured with gratitude, can grow into something extraordinary. Gratitude also makes you stronger in adversity, because when pain hits, and it will, it's gratitude that gives you perspective. It's what allows you to say, this moment is hard, but not everything is falling apart. I still have breath. I still have vision. I still have a chance to rebuild. That kind of mental resilience doesn't come from ignoring problems. It comes from choosing to acknowledge the good that still exists despite the problems. And that shift in focus, it keeps your heart alive. It keeps your spirit fighting. It keeps you from surrendering when life says, give up. There are people who have far less than you, but they carry more joy. They walk lighter. They love deeper. Why? Because they're not waiting for perfect conditions to feel thankful. They've learned the secret. Gratitude is not about what you have, it's about how you see. And when you choose to see your life through the lens of appreciation, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop chasing after validation. You stop resenting your journey. And you start working from a place of peace instead of pressure. Gratitude isn't passive either. It's not a feeling that visits you by accident. It's a force you must choose and protect. It's what pushes back when envy knocks on your door. It's what speaks when disappointment tries to steal your voice. It's what fuels action, not because you're desperate, but because you're inspired. When you're truly grateful, your energy changes. You serve better. You lead better. You become magnetic. People are drawn to someone who appreciates life, not someone who's always waiting for it to be different. And here's the most powerful thing about gratitude. It multiplies what you focus on. If you focus on what's missing, you attract more reasons to feel empty. But if you focus on what's working, what's improving, what's beautiful even in its simplicity, you attract more of it. That's not just mindset, that's momentum. Because when your heart is full of thanks, your hands begin to move with purpose. You start building. You start giving. You stop delaying and start becoming. Gratitude is also the fuel behind persistence. When the goal is still far and the rewards haven't arrived, it's gratitude that reminds you, I've come too far to quit. It lets you enjoy the process even when the outcome is uncertain. It allows you to smile while building, to find peace in the middle of progress, to celebrate small wins that others ignore. And those small wins, they compound, they stack. They become the very foundation of greatness. It doesn't matter where you are in life right now. If you can find one thing to be genuinely grateful for, you've already started shifting your energy. That one seed of appreciation can plant the roots for patience, courage, resilience, and vision. And over time, that seed grows into a mindset so powerful, nothing external can steal it. Not circumstances, not criticism, not loss. Because when you carry gratitude deep in your spirit, you're not just surviving, you're multiplying. There is a silent language you speak every single day, not with your words, but with your energy. Before you say a single thing, people feel you. They sense your presence. They respond to what you're putting out. Call it intuition, call it chemistry, call it the unspoken truth. Whatever name you give it, understand this. Your energy introduces you before your voice does. And that energy, it's shaped by your mindset, your beliefs, your attitude, by the positivity or negativity that you carry inside. Most people walk through life unaware of the energy they're radiating. They don't realize that they're not just reacting to the world, they're also influencing it. The way you show up matters. If you walk into a room with fear, insecurity, and bitterness, You change the atmosphere. But when you walk in with confidence, calm, and belief, the same environment responds to you differently. That is the invisible power of your energy. It is either pulling things toward you or pushing them away. Now here's what most people never realize: your energy attracts your reality. That's not some mystical theory. It's cause and effect. When your internal state is aligned with gratitude, vision, purpose, and belief, you naturally take actions that reflect those states. You speak differently. You carry yourself with more assurance. You pursue opportunities with boldness instead of hesitation. People notice, doors open, ideas come, and over time, that internal shift in energy becomes the external shift in results. You don't have to believe in vibes to understand this. Think back to a time when you were around someone who drained you. They didn't even have to say much. You just felt their heaviness. And then think about someone who lights up a room just by being in it. What's the difference? Energy. One is radiating defeat. The other is radiating life. And here's the real question: which one are you? Are you the person people feel relieved to be around, or the one they walk away from a little more burdened? That's a tough question, but it's one that matters. Because your energy doesn't just impact others, it impacts you. When you carry a negative mindset, when you dwell in bitterness, when you rehearse old pain, when you focus on everything that's wrong, you exhaust yourself. Your own presence becomes heavy to live with, and you wonder why opportunities don't flow, why things feel stuck, why doors seem locked. It's not because life is against you. It's because your energy is blocking what you're trying to attract. But here's the good news: you can shift it. You don't have to stay in the vibration of defeat. You can raise your energy by raising your mindset, by feeding your spirit with hope, by choosing thoughts that fuel action, by surrounding yourself with environments that remind you of what's possible. Energy isn't fixed. It's fluid. It changes every time you make a decision to speak life instead of death, to act with purpose instead of fear, to believe in possibilities instead of limitations. Understand that energy is contagious. Whether you're building a business, raising a family, chasing a dream, or leading a team, your energy sets the tone. People don't just listen to your instructions. They feel your example. They follow your emotional current. If you're hopeful, they feel safer. If you're confident, they feel braver. But if you're always complaining, always doubting, always looking for what's wrong, then you're not leading, you're limiting. You're not elevating, you're draining. This is why positivity is not just a personal benefit, it's a responsibility, especially if others are counting on you, especially if you're creating something bigger than yourself. You must be intentional about protecting your energy. That means setting boundaries. That means being mindful of what you consume, what you watch, what you read, who you allow in your space. Because everything you take in either strengthens your energy or weakens it. And when your energy weakens, your vision becomes blurry, your momentum slows, your inspiration dies. But when you guard your energy, when you feed it with faith, truth, gratitude, and discipline, you start to move differently. You stop reacting emotionally to every situation. You stop letting people's negativity pull you off course. You stop wasting time in spaces that don't align with your future. Instead, you become magnetic. Not because you're louder or flashier, but because you carry something rare, authentic, focused, powerful energy that doesn't waver. People will say you're lucky, but luck has nothing to do with it. You created the energy, you built the mindset, you maintained the discipline. You spoke the language of belief before anyone else could see the results. And eventually, life had no choice but to respond to the frequency you were broadcasting. That's the truth no one teaches in school. Success doesn't chase people who complain about everything. It doesn't find the ones waiting for perfect conditions. It shows up for those who've done the work internally, who've shifted from fear to faith, from doubt to drive, from waiting to becoming. Because when you become the energy of what you desire, the world can't help but reflect it back to you. There is a law at work in your life, whether you're conscious of it or not. The law of momentum. Everything in life is either gaining power or losing it. Nothing stands still for long. You are either rising or falling, growing or shrinking, moving forward or slipping backward. And the fuel behind momentum, true, lasting, internal momentum, is not motivation, not luck, not even talent. It is positivity. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about fake smiles or shallow optimism. This is about the kind of grounded, resilient, unshakable positivity that builds inner momentum when everything around you says stop. It's the voice that says, keep going, when the world is silent. It's the mindset that refuses to let negativity dictate your direction. When you embrace this kind of positivity, you're no longer waiting for energy. You're creating it. And that, right there, is what separates the average from the exceptional. Momentum doesn't begin with the big victories. It starts small, so small that most people overlook it. It starts with the decision to see the opportunity, not the obstacle. To focus on what's left, not what's lost. To speak life. Even when your environment is drenched in doubt, one positive choice leads to another. One courageous action opens the door for the next. Positivity becomes your engine. And once that engine starts running, something incredible happens. You begin to move faster, stronger, and with more purpose. People often say, I'll get going once I feel better, or I'll start when life calms down. That's the trap. You don't wait for momentum, you build it. You create it through small wins, stacked on top of each other. Through the discipline of showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Through the grit of choosing belief over fear, effort over excuses, and vision over comfort. Do you know what negativity does to momentum? It suffocates it. It pulls you back into neutral. It whispers lies like, "What's the point?" Or, "Nothing ever changes." And if you listen to that voice long enough, it becomes your identity. You become the person who starts and stops, who doubts every next step, who sabotages progress before it has a chance to take root. That is the danger of unchecked negativity. It robs you of the very momentum needed to break free. But when you nurture a positive mindset, something shifts inside of you. Begin to see problems as puzzles, not prisons. You start turning setbacks into fuel. You become emotionally agile, able to bounce back instead of break down. Your progress may still be slow at first, but it is steady, and steady is all momentum needs. Think about a flywheel that heavy, massive metal wheel engineers use to store energy. At first, it's nearly impossible to move. You push and strain and barely make it budge. But you don't stop. You keep applying pressure, day after day, decision after decision, and suddenly it starts to turn. Slowly at firster, then faster still. Until eventually, it's spinning with such force that it takes very little effort to keep it going. That's what positivity does for your life. It turns effort into energy. It turns resistance into rhythm. And here's the powerful part. Once you gain momentum, you begin to rise above the friction. Things that used to drain you don't faze you anymore. Voices that once planted seeds of doubt lose their power. The fear that once paralyzed you now looks like a stepping stone. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped reacting to life and started creating it. That's the mark of someone who understands the power of positivity. It's not about pretending things are easy. It's about believing they are possible. People around you will notice. They'll wonder how you keep going when others quit. How you stay grounded when others lose control. How you keep creating when the odds say stop. And they won't understand that it's not magic. It's momentum. And that momentum is built on every single moment you chose to rise when you could have sunk. Every time you silenced the inner critic. Every time you turned fear into fuel. Let's be honest. There will be days when it feels like you're pushing that flywheel alone. Days when the progress is invisible. Days when you wonder if your mindset even matters. And it's in those moments that positivity becomes your most loyal ally. Because it won't let you give up. It won't let you slow down. It reminds you who you are and where you're going. And that reminder That internal shift is often all it takes to keep your momentum alive. Because the person who keeps showing up with the right mindset will always outlast the one who only shows up when it's easy. And that's why positivity isn't just helpful. It's essential. It's the compound interest of success. The more you invest in it, the more it multiplies. The more you nurture it, the more power it returns. And in time, that power becomes unstoppable. There's something magnetic about someone who radiates positive energy. Not the kind that's performative or exaggerated, but a deeply rooted, authentic energy that says, I believe in possibility, and I believe in myself. These people walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere without saying a word. They don't have to chase attention because tension finds them. They don't have to beg for opportunities because opportunity is drawn to light, and positivity is light in human form. The world is full of closed doors, but positive energy has a way of unlocking them. Sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. You may not always see the connection, but every time you show up with a heart full of hope, with a mind focused on solutions rather than problems, you are setting off a silent ripple effect. People want to be around that kind of energy. People trust it. It inspires. It builds bridges instead of walls. And in a world weighed down by cynicism and criticism, that kind of light is rare, which makes it even more valuable. You see, opportunity isn't just about what you know or even who you know. It's about who you are when nobody's watching and what energy you bring into every space you enter. People remember how you make them feel. They remember whether you lifted the room or drained it. And the truth is, you could have all the talent in the world, but if your spirit repels rather than invites, those doors won't open. Positivity isn't just good for your mental health. It's a magnet for connection, collaboration, and breakthroughs. When you carry positive energy, even in difficult circumstances, others feel safer around you. You become the kind of person who doesn't panic when things go wrong, who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't spread fear or gossip or complaints. And that kind of presence, it creates trust. It opens doors to leadership, to influence, to roles and relationships you never imagined. Because positive people don't just survive life, they elevate it for others. They create a force field of possibility wherever they go. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or denying pain. True positivity is rooted in resilience. It's knowing that even when life breaks you down, your mindset still belongs to you. It's refusing to let temporary circumstances dictate your permanent identity. That kind of inner strength doesn't just help you rise. It makes people want to rise with you. They see your fire and they want to carry their own torch. Think about the most successful, most influential, most beloved people you've known or heard of. What made them unforgettable? It wasn't just their skill set. It was their presence, their energy, their attitude, the way they made people believe in something bigger, the way they made others feel seen, heard, and hopeful. That's the power of positivity. It doesn't just lift you, it lifts everyone you touch. Opportunities often hide in people, in conversations, in connections. In those little moments when someone decides whether or not to open a door for you. And many of those decisions are made based on how you make them feel. Do you bring energy or do you drain it? Do you empower others or do you compete and compare? Positivity puts you in alignment with growth, with favor, with possibility. It turns everyday moments into launching pads. It turns a brief conversation into a partnership, a kind gesture into a lasting impression. Some people spend their entire lives trying to get noticed. But the truly magnetic don't chase, they attract. Not because they're louder, not because they demand it, but because their inner light shines through everything they do. And when you're a person of genuine positivity, life tends to move in your favor, not always in your timing, but always in your direction. Let this be clear: the world does not reward bitterness. It may give attention to noise and drama, but it does not honor it. In the long run, the ones who win, the ones who leave legacy, impact, and a trail of better lives behind them, are the ones who choose light. The ones who, when given every reason to give up, kept believing. The ones who, when surrounded by complaints, chose to speak gratitude. The ones who, when overlooked or rejected, didn't shrink in despair, but stood in quiet confidence, knowing that their energy would draw the right opportunities at the right time. Positive energy doesn't just attract, it protects. It shields you from self-doubt, from jealousy, from the low vibrations that pull so many people down. It keeps you focused on what's possible instead of what's missing. And in that state, you make better decisions. You see doors where others see dead ends. You act in faith instead of fear. You move with peace instead of panic. Let the world do what it does. Let the noise grow louder. Let the challenges rise. You stay grounded, stay bright. Stay rooted in the belief that your energy is your power, and when it's aligned with purpose, passion, and hope, it will always find a way forward.